Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission today, well, it's swift and it's laser focused. We're going to help you master the modern budget digital camera market.
That's right. You've asked us, how can I move beyond my smartphone for photos and videos?
Exactly. How can you start creating really compelling, high-quality content, but, and this is the key bit, without completely emptying your wallet?
So today we are zeroing in on these high-performance digital cameras that actually cost less than $100.
Which honestly sounds a bit like science fiction, doesn't it?
It really does. For years, the budget camera section was just painful. You had terrible compromises.
Oh, I remember. Slow performance, grainy video.
Total frustration, laggy.
Yeah.
But the surprise, and this is what we're really going to unpack today, is that the technology has just quietly revolutionized itself.
Right. So now we're looking at tools that boast, what, 4K video?
4K video, yes.
Yeah.
Still photos up to 64 megapixels, which is kind of wild. And features like autofocus, proper autofocus, and flip screens.
Things that just a couple of years back, you'd only find on premium cameras costing hundreds, maybe thousands.
Exactly. Those are strictly high-end features.
It's just astonishing how quickly that price floor has dropped while the feature ceiling has just shot up.
It really is. So, who is this deep dive for?
Well, if you're a budding content creator, maybe thinking about YouTube or TikTok.
Or perhaps you're a traveler needing something compact, but, more capable than your phone.
Or maybe you're a parent just documenting family memories, but you want that step up in quality from your standard phone camera.
And this is definitely for you. We're aiming to give you the precise specs, the technical context you need, and really lay out the critical trade-offs.
So you can make the right choice, first time, no buyer's remorse.
And we should probably tackle the elephant in the room straight away. The brands.
Yes. Bofypoo. Bofypoo. Not exactly household names.
Not at all. But we're going to show you exactly how the feature sets and, importantly, the customer reliability ratings actually help mitigate that risk you might feel with these ultra-budget imports.
Okay, let's get into it then.
Yeah.
Right, before we even look at the specific models, the contenders, we really need a baseline, a benchmark.
Exactly. What actually makes a great camera in this, let's face it, super competitive sub-$100 bracket?
We've sort of boiled it down to a handful of, non-negotiable features. And maybe more importantly, the context around them.
Yeah, the context is key. And the conversation really has to start with resolution and image quality.
That's the big one.
It really is. This is the metric that's seen the most dramatic improvement. The old benchmark, maybe 10, 12 megapixels if you were lucky.
Right. Low resolution video.
Totally. Now, the standard we're seeing is 4K video recording, and that's paired with still photo resolutions from 48 megapixels up to, a pretty staggering 64 megapixels.
Okay, 64 megapixels. That sounds incredibly impressive. But for someone listening who's maybe a bit skeptical.
And they should be.
What does that number actually deliver? I mean, does 64 megapixels on a, say, $70 camera truly compare to 64 MP on a, $1,500 Pro system?
That is the absolute essential question, right? And we need to be clear here. What's fascinating is the sheer flexibility this high count offers.
Flexibility how?
Well, if you're cropping heavily, let's say you take a wide shot, but you really want to isolate a portrait within it.
Okay.
That high megapixel count lets you zoom in digitally, quite dramatically sometimes, without the image just falling apart into pixels.
So it gives you room to maneuver later.
Exactly. And it also supports printing in larger formats much more easily.
But you mentioned a catch earlier. There's always a catch in the budget market, isn't there? That resolution might not be native.
Precisely. That's the crucial caveat. In the sub-$100 space, these very high megapixel counts, especially 64 MP, often indicate what's called interpolated resolution. Meaning the camera's actual sensor, the physical chip capturing the light, might only be, say, 12 MP or maybe 16 MP native.
Right.
And then the software inside the camera uses algorithms to basically upscale that image, to stretch it out, to generate the 64 MP file size.
So it's still useful for cropping, like you said.
It is, yeah. The file size is there, the dimensions are there, but the quality of that resolution, the actual sharpness, the fine detail that's going to be compromised compared to a camera with a bigger, better sensor that captures 64 MP natively.
Right. So we see 64 MP. We acknowledge it's a huge leap from the old days.
It's a massive leap forward from older budget tech, absolutely.
But we need to temper our expectations about, professional-grade sharpness at that level. It's about the trade-off.
It's always about the trade-off at this price point. That context is vital.
Okay, vital context. Moving on from pure resolution numbers then, let's talk about usability and movement. This used to be the biggest frustration point for beginners, right? Things just being slow or blurry.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. The inclusion of autofocus capability is now pretty much essential.
Just having it isn't enough, though, is it?
Well, it ensures your subjects stay reasonably sharp, especially for those fleeting moments, kids playing, quick, candid shots. It does drastically reduce that beginner frustration.
But here comes the caveat again.
Yeah.
In this ultra-budget market, how responsive is that autofocus really? Is it actually fast?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it fast enough to, say, capture a child running towards you? Or are beginners still going to deal with some lag?
My guess is lag.
You'd be right. It's not going to compete with, like, the phase detect autofocus you find in premium mirrorless cameras or DSLRs. It's primarily going to be contrast-based AF.
Meaning it might search a bit.
Exactly. It might hunch for focus for a moment, especially if the light isn't great or the subject doesn't have much contrast. So the key for you, the user, is understanding its limits.
How so?
Focus before the main action starts, if possible. Don't expect it to track instantaneously during really high-speed movement. Think of it as a tool for moderate speed, not, Formula One racing cars.
Got it. Manage expectations. What about keeping the image steady? We also need to talk stabilization. Anti-shake technology.
Correct. Anti-shake, or image stabilization, helps compensate for those tiny hand movements, which is critical when you're shooting handheld, especially at slower shutter speeds or when zoomed in a bit.
But there's another feature often mentioned alongside anti-shake that needs maybe a strong clarification. Digital zoom.
Ah, yes, digital zoom. All these cameras boast, like 16x digital zoom.
Which sounds amazing on the box.
Yeah.
16x. But can you walk us through the practical difference? Digital versus optical zoom, because that 16x number can be misleading.
Very misleading. And this is a critical caution for anyone buying in the budget market. Optical zoom uses actual moving glass lens elements to magnify the image before it hits the sensor, so it maintains clarity.
Okay, like binoculars.
Sort of, yeah. Digital zoom, on the other hand, does none of that. It simply takes the image already captured by the sensor.
A native image.
Exactly. And it electronically enlarges and crops into it. So when you crank up that 16x digital zoom on these cameras, you're essentially just doing a massive crop on that 48 MP or 64 MP file.
And the result is?
Almost certainly going to be blocky, pixelated, and generally poor quality. Usable maybe for identification, but not for a nice photo.
Okay, so the 16x digital zoom is basically a marketing number.
Yeah.
A knowledgeable user should probably avoid it.
Pretty much, yeah. Or use it very, very sparingly. The better approach: rely on the high native or interpolated resolution for cropping after you take the shot.
How does that work?
Stick to the widest angle the camera offers, capture the best detail you can, get the sharpest possible image, and then crop it later on your computer or phone. That will give you far, far superior results compared to using this 16x digital zoom in the camera itself.
Good tip. And just to reiterate on a video 4K resolution is basically the minimum standard now, right, for future proofing?
Absolutely. It's pretty much non-negotiable now, even at this price. It ensures your work looks professional on current screens and stays relevant as viewing standards inevitably increase.
Okay. Now let's pivot slightly to design for content creation. That flip screen you mentioned earlier feels critical for the modern user, especially vloggers.
Oh, it's the vlogger's absolute best friend. That 180-degree rotatable flip screen lets you see yourself, check your framing, your expression while you're recording. It's essential.
And you mentioned IPS technology.
Yes. When that screen uses IPS in-plane switching technology, it's even better. IPS gives you much wider viewing angles, so the image doesn't wash out if you look at it slightly off-center.
And better colors.
And more accurate color reproduction, yes. So what you see on that little screen while you're filming is much closer to the final video output. Fewer nasty surprises when you get to editing.
Makes sense. Finally, let's touch on connectivity and practicality. Because a camera that's a pain to use or flows down your workflow.
It's a camera that ends up sitting in a drawer, gathering dust.
Exactly.
It's absolutely right. And one feature that's become a real game changer here is webcam functionality.
Using the camera for video calls.
Yep. You just plug these cameras into your computer via USB, and boom, you can use them for live streaming or Zoom calls or whatever.
Why bother, though? My laptop has a webcam.
But even a budget digital camera like these often has a vastly superior lens and a much larger sensor compared to that tiny, usually quite grainy webcam built into your laptop lid.
So it's an instant upgrade for online meetings.
Instantly elevates your professional presence on calls. Much sharper, better color, often better in low light too.
Okay, good point. And what about getting the photos and videos off the camera quickly? Wires are annoying.
They are. So we're looking for two main things here. First is built-in Wi-Fi for wireless transfer. We'll talk about one model that really nails this later.
And the second?
The second is robust support for something called Mass Storage Device Class, or MSDC.
Which means?
It basically means when you plug the camera into your computer with a USB cable, the camera just acts like a simple USB stick or card reader. Your computer sees it immediately, no special drivers, no clunky software needed.
So drag and drop files.
Exactly. It ensures the fastest, most straightforward file transfer. Surprisingly, not all cameras implement this well.
Good to know. And the absolute practical essentials: battery life and portability.
Well, portability is a given. These are designed to be compact, easy to travel with. But battery life, that's often the Achilles heel of budget electronics.
Right. Components might not be the most energy efficient to keep costs down.
Precisely. And that's why manufacturers have smartly started including not just one battery, but often 2 or even 3 rechargeable batteries right in the box.
You can just swap them out. Yep.
It gives you that confidence for extended shooting sessions. We've all been there, right? On vacation, the battery dies just before the perfect sunset.
The worst feeling.
Having 2 or 3 batteries isn't a gimmick here. It's basically an insurance policy against missing the shot.
Okay, fantastic groundwork. So we've established our critical criteria. We understand the nuances: digital versus optical zoom, interpolation versus native resolution, the workflow stuff. Now we can actually unpack the 4 specific models that we think really stand out in this competitive sub-$100 space.
Yeah, and we've picked these 4 because, well, they all hit that baseline, the 4K video. The high megapixel count, each one brings something distinct to the table, a unique advantage that caters to a specific kind of user need.
Let's dive in. Okay, starting with the Deluvlu DC101. What's the quick take, the nugget of insight here?
The key thing with the Deluvlu is that it manages to deliver features that genuinely compete with more expensive options, but it comes in at a really accessible price, around $59.99, sometimes less.
And people seem to like it.
They do. Customer approval is high, like 4.3 out of 5 stars from over 2,000 ratings. That's a lot of users saying, yeah, this works.
So the core specs, what are we looking at?
It's exactly what you'd want for a solid starter camera. 4K video, 48 megapixel photos, a standard CMOS sensor, that 16x digital zoom we talked about.
Which we'll use carefully.
Exactly. And the maximum aperture is f3.2. It's built to be a reliable, general purpose workhorse.
Okay, but what specifically elevates it to best overall value, especially thinking about content creators?
It's really the combination of having the right hardware for vlogging, plus features that maximize your shooting time, your endurance.
Like the flip screen.
Yep. It's got a nice, large 3.0-inch IPS 180-degree flip screen. Absolutely essential if you're recording yourself.
But the real value kicker is?
It's in the accessories and the warranty. This one includes 2 spare rechargeable batteries. So you get 3 batteries in total right out of the box.
3 batteries.
3 batteries. Plus a dedicated charging station, so you can charge 1 or 2 while you're using the 3rd.
Okay, that directly addresses that core anxiety with budget gear running out of power halfway through something important. That buys you time and confidence.
It really does. And it means you don't have to stop and charge constantly, which is a major workflow killer, especially on location.
Any other peace of mind factors?
Yes. The manufacturer offers an 18-month warranty. That's actually quite significant when you're dealing with a lesser-known brand name like Deluvlu. That warranty is your safety net.
Makes sense. It also seems to have a decent creative suite: exposure compensation, time-lapse, slow-mo, face detection. Can you quickly explain why exposure compensation is important for a learner?
Sure. Exposure compensation, usually shown as like EV managed 3.0 to plus 3.0, is your simple manual override for brightness.
How so?
Let's say you're shooting a bright snow scene. The camera's automatic meter might think, whoa, too bright, and underexpose the shot to compensate, making your white snow look kind of gray and muddy.
A common problem.
Exposure compensation lets you easily tell the camera, no, I actually want this brighter. You dial in maybe plus 1.0 EV, or if something's too bright, you dial it down. It lets you correct the camera's best guess and is a really essential first step away from purely automatic shooting.
Got it. So the Deluvlu is kind of the comprehensive, reliable pick. Good for beginners, maybe amateurs upgrading from a phone, seniors, teenagers starting out. People who need the features, but also that reassurance of extra power and warranty.
That sums it up perfectly. It's the solid, dependable choice.
Okay, if the Deluvalu is the solid all-rounder, what about the Leknippy DC402? The insight here seems to be extreme budget friendliness.
Oh yeah. The Leknippy DC402 is the undisputed champion if your budget is absolutely rock bottom tight. It's priced at an astonishing $49.98 typically.
Under $50.
Under $50. And yet, it still pulls off an impressive 4.5 out of 5-star rating from users.
Okay, it's the lowest price in our roundup. But what makes it a real contender, not just, a cheap toy? Are there specific features beyond the basics?
There are. It really comes down to two unique, very practical features at this price. First, it has the ability to record while charging.
Ah, okay. Why is that so important?
Think about it. If you're doing long-form content, maybe recording a long interview or live streaming an event or even just using it in webcam mode for hours.
Your battery's going to die eventually.
Right. But with this one, you can just plug it into a USB power bank or a wall adapter and it keeps running off external power. Your battery anxiety is basically eliminated for those long sessions.
That immediately sets it apart from cameras where you have to stop and swap batteries every hour or so. What's the second key feature?
It's a technical one, but important. The maximum aperture is f2.8.
f2.8. That's actually pretty good for this price point, isn't it? Better than the Deluvalu's f3.2.
It is admirable, yes.
Can you walk us through the practical benefit of f2.8 for the average user? What does that mean?
Okay, so aperture controls how much light physically enters the camera and hits the sensor. A lower f number, like f2.8, means the opening, the iris inside the lens, is physically wider than a higher number, like f3.2.
So more light gets in.
Significantly more light gets through. Practically speaking, that translates directly into better performance in low light situations.
Also,
when you're shooting indoors, maybe in the evening without much artificial light, the camera can capture a brighter, cleaner image because more light is hitting the sensor naturally. It doesn't have to artificially boost the signal as much, which is what increases the ISO and introduces that ugly digital noise or graininess.
Okay, so if shooting in dimmer conditions is a major concern for someone, the Leknippy actually offers a technical advantage, despite being the cheapest.
Exactly. It punches above its weight in low light because of that f2.8 aperture. It also includes some smart features, like a 2-stage autofocus system. You press the shutter halfway down to lock focus, then press fully to take the picture. Standard stuff, but good to have.
And the package. Does it come with anything else?
Yes, and this is crucial for that absolute tightest budget. The package includes not just 2 batteries, but also a 32 GB SD card.
Oh, nice. So you're literally ready to shoot the second you open the box.
Exactly. No hidden extra costs for essential memory storage, which can sometimes trip people up.
All right, moving on to number 3, the CAMKORY CDC413S. The core insight here seems to be all about detail, about resolution.
Pure detail, exactly. This one ties for the highest still image resolution in our entire roundup, hitting that 64 megapixel mark.
Wow, same as the Bofypoo we'll get to.
Right. And it maintains an incredibly high satisfaction rating, 4.8 out of 5 stars. And price-wise, it's typically around $49.99, putting it right there, neck and neck with the Leknippy.
So if your main goal is capturing the absolute maximum amount of static detail, maybe for landscapes, product shots, or just having that massive flexibility to crop way in later,
then the 64MP is the defining feature here. Even if we acknowledge, the strong likelihood that it's interpolated resolution, the file size and potential for cropping are still there.
But reading through the features, the really unique selling point seems to be the dual camera system. That's pretty unusual, right? Especially on a budget camera.
It's highly unusual, and it's a brilliant piece of design aimed squarely at content creators, particularly vloggers.
How does it work?
It allows you to switch with just one button press between the front-facing selfie camera and the regular rear-facing camera.
Okay, I can see how that's useful.
Imagine you're vlogging a trip. You're talking to your audience, looking at the screen. Then you see something cool behind you. You just hit one button.
And it instantly switches the view.
Instantly switches to show the landmark or whatever is behind you. You don't have to stop recording, awkwardly flip the camera around, reframe, none of that. It streamlines the whole capture process dramatically.
And probably makes for much more dynamic videos later in the edit.
Absolutely. And it also sounds like this CAMKORY model is maybe aimed at the learner who wants a bit more room to grow, offering more manual controls than the others.
That's right. While the Leknippy and Deluvalu lean heavily towards automatic point-and-shoot simplicity, the CAMKORY includes adjustments for white balance, ISO sensitivity, and different metering options. So a beginner can start on auto.
Exactly. Start on auto, get comfortable. But then, as they learn the fundamentals of exposure and color, they have these manual tools ready and waiting. They can experiment with setting the white balance for different lighting, controlling the ISO for noise, trying different ways the camera measures light.
It provides that crucial bridge from just snapping pictures to actually making photographs.
Well put. It offers a growth path.
And the accessory package seems like a big draw here, too.
It really is. It arguably offers the most complete accessory package of the four. You get the 32 GB SD card, 2 batteries, the USB-C cable, but also a little storage bag and a lanyard.
So it's really ready to go.
Very much so. Ergonomically, it's apparently designed with a slightly larger body, which can make it more comfortable to hold for longer shooting periods. And for getting files off, it has that specific connectivity advantage we talked about earlier, the MSDC mode.
The mass storage mode.
Yeah. When you plug it in via USB, it just instantly shows up as a drive, like a card reader, which, believe it or not, is often faster and more reliable than some other transfer protocols budget cameras use.
Okay, last but not least, the Bofypoo DC-103. Now, this one comes in at $69.99, making it the highest priced option in our budget roundup.
It is, yeah. It's the premium choice within this budget category.
But it seems to justify that slightly higher price by focusing almost entirely on connectivity and speeding up the workflow. And it boasts the highest customer satisfaction rating of the lot, 4.9 out of 5 stars. That's impressive.
Extremely impressive. This is really the camera built for that modern necessity of sharing content immediately.
Spec-wise, how does it stack up?
It matches the CAMKORY at the top-end 4K video and that 64-megapixel photo resolution. And it includes the essential 3.0-inch, 180-degree rotatable flip screen, like the Duluvulu.
Okay, so top specs, flip screen. What makes it the connected choice? The standout feature must be
built-in Wi-Fi. That's the key differentiator.
For Wi-Fi, meaning seamless wireless file transfer, cutting out the need for cables, or even taking the SD card out.
Exactly. That's the workflow it enables. It's potentially transformative for certain types of content creators.
Can you describe that workflow? How does it actually work?
You connect the camera wirelessly to your smartphone or tablet, Android or iOS, using a free app. In this case, it's called ViPulse.
Okay.
You shoot a photo or a video clip, then using the app, you can browse the camera and transfer them directly to your mobile device.
And from there,
from your phone, you can immediately edit using mobile apps like CapCut or VN, and then upload straight to Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever your platform is.
Wow. Okay, that shoot-to-share process is significantly streamlined. I can see that being invaluable for travelers documenting things in real time, or maybe someone covering a live event.
Absolutely. It removes several steps and potentially the need for a laptop in the field.
Does the app do anything else besides file transfer?
Yes. The smartphone can also function as a remote trigger for the camera.
Oh, interesting. How would you use that?
It's perfect for situations where you can't be right behind the camera. Maybe you're trying to capture a shy wildlife subject from a distance, or you want to take self-portraits or group photos where you need to be in the shot and properly framed.
So you can see the live view from the camera on your phone.
Exactly. You can see the live view, maybe adjust some basic settings, and then trigger the shutter remotely from your phone screen. Really useful for certain scenarios.
It sounds like this model is leaning less towards being a traditional digital camera and more towards being like a really smart accessory for your phone-based workflow.
That's a great way to put it. It really leans into convenience and connectivity. Design-wise, it has a few nice touches too, like a dedicated WT dial wide telephoto for controlling that 16x digital zoom.
More tactile than just buttons.
Yeah, gives you potentially more precise control over the zoom, even if we still recommend using it sparingly. And crucially, it mentions having a built-in microphone, suggesting they've paid at least some attention to capturing usable audio right out of the box, which is often an afterthought on cheap cameras.
And the support aspect.
This is another area where it justifies the slightly higher price. The manufacturer explicitly offers 247 customer support. That level of support is genuinely unusual at this price point.
Suggests a certain confidence in the product, maybe.
It does. It shows they're prepared to back it up, which provides extra reassurance for the buyer.
Okay, so we've just unpacked 4 incredibly strong contenders. They all deliver that baseline of high resolution and 4K video, which is amazing for under $100. But now it's decision time. Time to stop just listing specs and really analyze the trade-offs. How do these different competitive advantages really stack up against each other?
This is where it gets tough, right? Because you are absolutely making a trade-off. You can't have everything at this price. You have to pick what's most important to you.
Yeah.
Let's quickly recap the core differences from that comparison view. Feature Area Deliveroo DC101, Leknippy DC402, CAMKORY CDC413S, Bofypoo DC103. Max photo resolution 48MP, 48MP, 64MP tied highest, 64MP tied highest. Price $59.99 mid-range, $49.99 lowest, $69.99 highest stip, 2.0 flip, 2.8 standard 3.0 flip. Unique feature 3 batteries plus charger record while charging, 2.8F aperture dual camera system, most accessories Wi-Fi connectivity.
Okay, looking at that, the resolution battle is basically tied between the CAMKORY and the Bofypoo at 64MP. Yep. While the absolute price war is between the Leknippy and the CAMKORY, both hovering right around that $50 mark.
But the screen difference is really stark, isn't it? Flip versus standard.
It's huge. That flip screen is, for many people, especially vloggers or anyone taking selfies, a must-have feature. It's non-negotiable.
So if you absolutely need that flip screen function,
then you immediately have to discount the two cheapest options, the Leknippy and the CAMKORY, despite their other really strong points like the f2.8 aperture or the dual camera.
Which forces the content creator to spend a little more, choosing between the Deliveroo at around $60 or the Bofypoo at around $70.
That perfectly crystallizes the trade-off, doesn't it? You're essentially deciding, do I prioritize the ability to monitor myself while filming the flip screen? Or do I prioritize the absolute lowest price, or maybe the highest resolution, or that specific low light advantage?
Yeah, like the Leknippy gives you that better f2.8 aperture for low light,
which is technically superior.
But you sacrifice the flip screen that a TikTok creator might feel they absolutely need. Is that a deal breaker?
For someone whose primary goal is vlogging, yes, probably. It makes filming yourself much harder. But flip it around. If your goal is maybe shooting nature photos or landscapes on a super tight budget, and you don't need to film yourself,
then the f2.8 aperture and the rock bottom price make the Leknippy the clear winner for that specific user.
Exactly. It's all about matching the feature set to your specific need.
Okay, so let's make this really practical for the listener. Let's give some direct, critical guidance based on potential needs. What if workflow speed and sharing are everything, getting content online fast?
Then you absolutely must choose the Bofypoo DC103, no question. The built-in Wi-Fi and the remote control via the app completely justify that extra $10 or so over the Deliveroo for that specific need. It transforms the workflow. It's the closest thing here to a dedicated smartphone companion camera.
Okay. What if the budget is the only driving factor? Like, absolutely the tightest constraint possible, but they still need to shoot maybe long videos like interviews or streaming.
Then the Leknippy DC402 is the definitive choice. It hits the lowest price point, and that ability to record while charging is a massive, massive advantage for any kind of sustained video session. Plus, you get that bonus of 2.8 aperture for slightly better low light capture than the other $50 option.
All right. What if the user is maybe a budding photo enthusiast, someone who knows they'll want to crop images heavily or maybe print large, so they want maximum resolution, and they want those manual controls to learn and grow with?
That user profile points directly to the CAMKORY CDC413S. The 64MP resolution gives the most potential detail for that post-processing flexibility. The advanced controls ISO, white balance, metering give that budding photographer room to experiment and learn.
Plus the unique dual camera system.
Plus the dual camera system for creative versatility and arguably the most complete accessory package right out of the box. It's a great learning tool.
And finally, what if the main concerns are just proven reliability, maximum shooting endurance, maybe the assurance of a good warranty, coupled with that essential flip screen for general vlogging or family use?
That's the sweet spot for the Deliveroo DC101. It's the safe, reliable, middle ground choice. It has the high volume of positive customer reviews. It has the dedicated flip screen, and the inclusion of 3 batteries plus the charger means maximum shooting time and peace of mind. It's probably the best bet for the general beginner who doesn't have one overriding niche technical need like Wi-Fi or the f2.8 aperture.
Okay, that's super clear. But before we move on, let's just quickly revisit the skepticism about the brands. You brought it up at the start. For a buyer who's never heard of Deliveroo or Leknippy, what's the real risk, and how does relying on customer feedback actually help mitigate that?
That's a really crucial point to land on. The inherent risk in the ultra-budget import market is often about, well, longevity and maybe hidden software quirks or usability issues. Are the menus actually intuitive? Does the battery performance suddenly fall off a cliff after 6 months? Things like that.
Stuff you don't know from the spec sheet.
Exactly. And that's where those high customer satisfaction ratings, consistently 4.3 stars and above across thousands of reviews for these models, become so critical. They act as a form of crowdsourced quality control.
So thousands of real users have put these through their paces.
Yes, and found them to be reliable beyond just the specs on paper. They work in the real world. And also look closely at things like the warranty. That 18-month warranty on the Deluvlu is a strong signal of the manufacturer's own confidence in the product. It protects you, the buyer, against that initial risk of getting a dud unit.
So we're basically relying on collective user experience to vouch for the reliability instead of just relying on a familiar brand name from the past.
That's a perfect way to put it. The market dynamics have shifted.
Okay, brilliant. So hopefully by now you have a much clearer idea of which specific camera might be the right tool for you. But now we want to shift the focus slightly, because the camera at the end of the day is just the tool.
Exactly. The real power lies in the skills and the mindset that can turn even a $50 camera into something that produces genuinely professional-looking results. This is the section that really elevates your work.
This is where you turn a good photo into a stunning one, regardless of the price tag.
Absolutely. This is arguably the most important section. Whether you ended up choosing the $50 Leknippy or the $70 Bofypoo, mastering the fundamentals of things like composition and light will determine the quality of your final output far, far more than those small differences in price or specs.
Okay, let's unpack mastering the fundamentals. Where should a beginner actually start when they first get this new dedicated camera home? It might feel a bit intimidating compared to a phone.
Yeah. My advice is always, start simple. Even if you bought the CAMKORY with all its manual controls, master the fully automatic mode first. Just shoot a lot. See how the camera behaves in different lighting conditions, what it does well, where it struggles.
Get a feel for it.
Then gradually start exploring those manual controls if your camera has them. The ISO, the white balance, the exposure compensation we talked about. The absolute key is consistent use and practice. Remember, the best camera is always the one you know how to use effectively, not just the one with the longest spec sheet.
We hear it constantly, but let's really dive into why composition matters more than gear. Specifically, how can using one of these budget cameras actually help a learner apply classic principles, like the rule of thirds, maybe better than a phone?
That's a great point. The rule of thirds, just as a quick reminder, is about mentally dividing your frame into 9 equal parts with 2 horizontal and 2 vertical lines. The idea is to place your main subject or key points of interest along those lines or especially at their intersections.
Creates more visual interest than just plonking the subject dead center.
Exactly. It feels more balanced, more dynamic. Now, how does a budget camera help? Most of these cameras, certainly the Deluvlu and Bofypoo with their nice flip screens, have a grid line overlay function in the settings.
So you can actually see the lines on the screen.
You can see the rule of thirds grid right there on your screen as you're composing a shot. That's the key. Don't rely on guesswork.
Turn on the grid.
Use it to intentionally place your subject's eyes on an intersection point for a portrait, or align the horizon along the bottom or top third line for a landscape. This simple, completely free compositional skill instantly elevates your images from just snapshots to considered photographs.
And the camera makes it easy to visualize and practice.
Precisely. Same goes for using leading lines, fine paths, fences, rivers, patterns, things that naturally lead the viewer's eye into the scene toward your subject. Composition costs nothing, and it's always, always more powerful than just having more megapixels.
Okay, and the other huge element, lighting. You mentioned even the best f2.8 aperture on the Leknippy can't save a shot taken in really terrible, harsh midday sun.
Lighting is absolutely crucial, perhaps the most crucial technical factor. And because the sensors in these budget cameras are physically quite small, they are much less forgiving of bad light compared to larger sensors in expensive cameras. They have less dynamic range.
So what's the takeaway for the user?
Learn to recognize and actively seek out good, soft light. We always encourage people to learn to shoot during the golden hour.
That magical time.
That magical time is roughly the hour right after sunrise and the hour right before sunset.
Why?
Because the sun is low in the sky, the light is diffused by more atmosphere. It's softer, it's warmer in color, and it creates beautiful, long shadows instead of harsh overhead ones.
Everything looked better.
Everything looks better in golden hour light. Conversely, what's the absolute worst time to shoot with these budget cameras, generally speaking?
Midday.
When the sun is directly overhead, blazing down, the light is incredibly harsh, the contrast is extreme, very bright highlights, very dark shadows. And your camera's small sensor will really struggle to capture detail in both those extremes simultaneously.
So you get either blown out white skies or completely black, muddy shadows.
Pretty much. You lose detail at both ends. If you absolutely must shoot midday, the best advice is to seek out open shade. Find the shadow cast by a building or go under a tree or an awning. That shade acts like a giant natural diffuser, softening the harsh light considerably.
Good practical tip. Let's talk specifically about video for a moment. We've established they all shoot 4K, which is great, but budget sensors often suffer from a specific type of distortion when you're recording movement, right?
Yes, that's very common. It's called rolling shutter distortion, sometimes referred to as the jello effect.
Jello effect.
Yeah, because the sensor often reads the image data line by line, sequentially from top to bottom, rather than capturing the entire frame all at once like a global shutter.
Okay, so it stands down the frame.
Right. And if you pan the camera quickly horizontally, or if there's fast movement across the frame, vertical lines in your shot, think fence posts, lamp posts, edges of buildings, can appear to lean or wobble or look slanted, like jello wobbling.
Ah, okay, I've seen that. How does a user minimize or mitigate that effect when using a budget camera?
You counteract it primarily with stability and slower, smoother movements. First, whenever possible, use a tripod, or at least prop the camera on a stable surface like a wall or a beanbag. Stability is key.
And if you have to shoot handheld?
If you're handheld, move the camera slowly and deliberately. Pan across the scene smoothly and gently, rather than quickly jerking the camera around. Anticipate the movement. Understanding this technical limitation will help you film much more smoothly and professionally, regardless of the camera's price tag.
Makes sense. Okay, beyond pure technique, how do we encourage people to use these specific budget cameras to their absolute fullest potential? Thinking about the features and accessories.
Well, experimentation is vital. You've bought this camera. It has features like time-lapse, slow motion, maybe some built-in creative filters or color modes. Systematically test every single one of them.
Don't just leave it on auto forever.
Exactly. You paid for those features, figure out what they do. See if time-lapse works for clouds or slow motion for capturing water splashes. This helps you broaden your creative options.
And basic care.
In terms of usage and maintenance, treat the camera reasonably well. The bodies are mostly plastic, so keep it protected in that little storage bag they often provide. Keep the lens clean. Use a proper microfiber cloth, not your t-shirt. Fingerprint smudges on the lens will drastically reduce image quality more than almost anything else.
Good point. And maybe avoid extremes.
Yeah, protect it from extreme heat or cold if possible, as that can affect battery life and potentially the electronics over time. Basic common sense care goes a long way.
And finally, we really can't ignore post-processing. Even a little bit can make a huge difference, right? Turning that raw file into a polished piece of content.
A massive difference. And you absolutely do not need expensive software like Photoshop or Lightroom to get started. Learning some basic editing using free software GIMP is a powerful free option for desktop. Or there are tons of great free mobile apps like Snapseed or VSCO, or even the editing tools built into Instagram.
So accessible tools are out there. What are the key things to learn first?
The three absolute critical adjustments are exposure, contrast, and saturation. First, exposure. Adjusting the overall brightness can often save an image that was maybe slightly too dark or too bright when you shot it.
Recovering detail.
Recovering a bit of detail, yes. Second, contrast. Boosting the contrast slightly gives your image more definition, more punch, makes it pop a bit more. Third, saturation. Carefully increasing the color saturation can make those colors richer and more vibrant.
But
carefully.
Yeah.
Don't overdo it and make things look radioactive. But even just 30 seconds of tweaking these three basic sliders can turn a decent 4K capture or good photo into a visually compelling final product that really stands out.
Great advice. Okay, last part of this section. Let's quickly address some common comparisons or questions that might still be lingering in the listener's mind. First big one, dedicated camera versus smartphone. My phone is always with me. It takes decent pictures. Why should I bother carrying a separate dedicated camera, even a cheap one?
It's a valid question. But dedicated cameras, even these budget ones, offer some critical advantages beyond just raw specs sometimes. First, often superior zoom capability. That 16x digital zoom, flawed as it is still optically starting from a potentially better lens and offers more reach than most phone zooms without completely falling apart.
Okay, zoom is one.
Second, much better battery life management. Using the dedicated camera means you save your phone's precious battery for what it's essential for communication, navigation, and emergencies. You're not draining your phone filming long videos.
Good point. What else?
Third, and I think this is really important, ergonomics and intentionality. Dedicated cameras are designed to be held like cameras. They have physical buttons, maybe dials, making adjustments faster and shooting more comfortable, especially for longer sessions.
Feels different in a hand.
It feels different. And crucially, the very act of picking up a dedicated camera, even an inexpensive one, often encourages you to be more intentional about your photography or videography. You're thinking like a photographer first, rather than just quickly snapping a picture as an afterthought while you're doing 10 other things on your smartphone. It encourages focus.
Interesting psychological point. Okay, next question. Are these budget cameras genuinely YouTube ready? Can they produce work that looks professional enough for online platforms?
Yes, emphatically yes. All 4 models we discussed record in 4K resolution. That is more than sufficient technically for YouTube, TikTok, Instagram Reels, streaming platforms, you name it.
So the tech barrier is gone.
The resolution barrier is gone at this price point. We have to stress again, the quality of your content, your ideas, your script, your lighting setup, your audio quality, those things matter infinitely more now than the specific price tag of the camera, assuming it hits that 4K baseline. These tools provide the necessary technical foundation. The rest is up to you.
Makes sense. And finally, let's nail down that resolution question one last time. 48 MP versus 64 MP. Is it really worth prioritizing 34 MP models, maybe sacrificing another feature just for that higher number?
Honestly, for the vast majority of use cases, viewing photos on a standard screen, sharing on social media, making standard prints like 8x10s or even a bit larger, the practical difference between a well-captured 48 MP image and a 64 MP image from these cameras is likely to be negligible, especially given that the 64 MP is probably interpolated anyway.
So don't obsess over the megapixel count.
Don't obsess over it. Our recommendation is almost always to choose your camera based on the unique utility features that best match your needs. Do you need the Wi-Fi on the Bofypoo for instant sharing? Do you need the f2.8 aperture on the Licknippy for low light? Do you need the 3 batteries and warranty peace of mind from the Duluvalu? Those features will impact your actual shooting experience and final results far more significantly than the small theoretical bump from 48 to 64 megapixels.
Focus on the features that solve your specific problems.
Exactly. Hashtag tag outro.
Wow. Okay, this has been a really extensive and I think critical deep dive into a market that's changed so much so quickly. We've clearly established that quality photography and videography are just incredibly accessible today.
Yeah, it's really driven by this relentless competitive innovation happening in that sub-$100 space. It's kind of amazing.
We've seen you absolutely don't have to compromise anymore on getting 4K resolution or essential features like autofocus and those vital flip screens.
Absolutely. Whether your priority is that seamless connectivity and workflow speed you get with the Bofypoo,
or maybe the maximum image resolution for heavy cropping and printing with the CAMKORY.
or perhaps just pure reliable value and shooting endurance with the Licknippy or the Duluvalu.
The power to create high-resolution images and video is now genuinely within reach for almost everyone, often, as you said, for less than the cost of a fancy phone case.
It's a great time to be getting started or upgrading on a budget.
So we've covered the tools, the specific models, and we've covered the skills and the mindset required to make the most of them. Now, if mastering composition and lighting truly is more crucial than the camera's price tag, which I think we've firmly established,
Definitely.
then this raises a really interesting, kind of provocative final thought for you, the listener, to maybe explore on your next photo walk or vlogging session.
Yeah.
Does the act of buying and using a dedicated, even if it's highly affordable, piece of camera equipment actually encourage a more intentional, a more focused, and ultimately maybe a better practice of photography or videography compared to just relying solely on the constant, easy convenience of your multitasking smartphone?
Does that separation, that dedicated tool, change your approach?
Something for you to mull over next time you're out there, practicing that rule of thirds.